Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Mark Day, the play-by-play voice of your New York Boulders Baseball Club, and we are talking Boulders baseball with none other than Johnny Boulders, John Thompson, the team historian and goodwill ambassador, as the guys get ready to start the unofficial second half of the season. They've played 55 of their now scheduled 95 regular season games, but the season will resume after the All-Star break tomorrow night at Clover Stadium. Three-game series against the New Jersey Jackals, three more on the homestand after that against the Sussex County Miners. Johnny, happy All-Star break. How you been?
I've been great. Cannot wait to get to the ballpark tomorrow. We've had a lot of exciting things, which I know you'll touch on. But the 2025 Boulder season is off to a great start. I'm wondering what these boys are going to do here in the second half.
All right, full disclosure, this is the third version of this we're recording today. The first one this afternoon, no sooner did we finish, then we got some breaking news, and then we just tried another one for the last half hour, which didn't record. So this is take three. The breaking news we'll get to in just a sec, but first, let's reflect on what happened the first 55 games of the regular season. The Boulders 28 and 27. They're sitting second in the East Division of the Atlantic Conference, 6 games behind the Miners. They are 3 games back of Tri-City for the number one wild card in the conference, 2 games in front of Ottawa for the final playoff spot. And of course, they'll see both teams in the second half of the season. Johnny, the All-Star game last night up at Tri-City at the Joe in Troy. Jason Agresti had a home run. He was the MVP. That home run might still be in orbit somewhere. So he had 2 hits. Ryan McCoy, who we're going to talk more about in just a second, he was 2 for 2, had a couple of singles and 2 runs scored. Austin Dennis drove in Mac with a fifth inning single of his own. And of course, Tyler Vale, the fourth of the Boulders All-Stars this season, wound up getting a 6-4-3 game-ending double play to pick up the save in his first career All-Star game. What were your reflections on what happened last night at the Joe?
Well, first of all, I think Tri City did a great job hosting. Second of all, the last time I saw something travel that far off of into the air had a flight attendant on it and needed clearance for takeoff. So that ball, you're right, still might be traveling. But I think it was so great to see the Boulders show out the way that they did, and to have Tyler Vale get the final couple of outs to wrap up the night. It really made it that the Boulders are the frontline team here in the Northeast. The team is accomplishing so much in the first half, and this was a good cherry on top of what's been a very good and historic first half of the season for the New York Boulders.
Yeah, so eventful. On the pitching side, we had a 2-hit complete game shutout from Garrett Cooper up in Ottawa. Then there was the one-hitter from Mason Olson on June the 10th up in Sussex, where he faced the minimum, walked one, gave up 1 hit, and both those guys were bounced out on double plays. He only threw 5 of his 89 total pitches with runners on base that night. Of course, he wound up getting picked up by the Toronto Blue Jays. We saw PJ Labriola on the first road trip of the year get picked up by the Boston Red Sox. And now we find out today, this is the reason we had to redo this. We found out today that Ryan McCoy, who was leading the league in on base percentage, second in stolen bases, third in slugging percentage, sixth in hitting, and of course, currently riding a 42 game on base streak. He's no longer on the Boulders as he was picked up today by the Tampa Bay Rays.
That's an awesome accomplishment. First time hearing about this too. Ryan McCoy is one of the best hitters I've ever seen. And the Boulders have had a lot of hitters, and it's reflected in his hitting streak, obviously. But defensively, what Ryan is able to do at his position is just going to be. He's an instant impact player, and you can't teach the attributes that he has. You can't coach them. They have to come to someone. And you know what's amazing about this, Mark? It's so fast. McCoy's only 23 years old. He is just at the beginning of his baseball career. He wasn't with the Boulders this time last year. He came in just a minuscule number of games, but he made a huge impression and evidently made a big enough impression where he becomes the latest call up of the Boulders to the MLB. Good luck in the show, Ryan McCoy. I know you will do some great things.
So you talked about his hitting streak, which wound up being the second longest at the moment in franchise history. We started the year, Steven Cardullo in 2015 had the franchise record at 22-game hitting streak. Of course, Cody Regis had a 20-game hitting streak a few years ago. Now that's been supplanted too. Jason Agresti set the new record, 27-game hitting streak. He hit the break with a 352 batting average, fourth highest in the league. He was up as much as to 380 and number one in the league during the hitting streak, but he made up for it last night with that still in orbit home run.
Yes, and Jason is amazing. He learned under the captain Marcus Nidifer his rookie year, and then of course it was well chronicled. He spent other parts of his career not with the Boulders, opposing the Boulders. But one thing about Jason that stands out to me is he's so much a professional hitter, and he's so much is so disciplined. And you forget he's a catcher. He's got to sit in on hitters meetings every day. He's got to worry about the pitching staff. He's got to worry about liaising with the pitching coaches. Oh, and then by the way, he's got to do his own stuff in the cage. And nobody has handled himself better than Jason Agresti, and the accolades that he has gotten so far. And believe me, there will be many more to come, we hope. But the accolades he has gotten so far have been well deserved, and he was All-Star Game MVP last night as well too.
And I think the most remarkable thing about that 27-game hitting streak is that it was interrupted for the better part of 2 weeks when he had the oblique injury, and he came back and never missed a beat. It was just phenomenal.
That's where you say you can't predict baseball. That's baseball.
Speaking of other accomplishments, as we start the proverbial second half, again, the final 40 regular season games in what'll be a 95-game regular season schedule. Austin Dennis, second in the league in hits. He's got 79. That's only one off the lead. He's third in runs scored at 54 through 55 games. That's a pretty good clip, and he's only three from the top in that department. And of course, he had a base hit last night and drove in a run, which was kind of cool too. He got to drive in McCoy, of all people.
Yes. And Austin is really going to be a huge asset for this offense now with the departure of Ryan McCoy. And again, our goal is to get these players purchased. But Dennis at the top of that lineup card every day is a consistent player, somebody who's going to expose all of the other pitchers' pitches. He doesn't swing out of his shoes. He's disciplined up there, and you know what? He knows when it's time to lay back and take his walks. So he's going to really be a key for this offense as players, begin to depart, get purchased. As long as Austin's at the top of the lineup card, this team is good to go.
One of only two guys who have started every game this season, Fritz Genther being the other. And we talked about all the milestones we saw in the first half. We didn't even get to Fritz's three-homer game, June the 3rd at Clover against the Jackals. That was the first three-home run game in franchise history, Johnny.
Yeah, that was amazing. That day I was actually sitting on the concourse, and his approach to hitting that day was some kind of amazing. Obviously, three home runs. You're going to say he's doing. Maybe he had one good game. No, Fritz Getter has always been like this. We have known about this for the longest time, and now to have him on our side and be able to watch him every day grow into the player that we all know he can be has been some sort of amazing, and it's been a truly remarkable experience.
And the remarkable thing, not just the three-home run game, but he did it in 3 innings, too. It was
Yes,
fourth,
yes.
fifth, and sixth innings. He had a solo shot, a grand slam, and a three-run homer. He tied the club record with 8 RBIs in that game and didn't hit another home run, interestingly enough, until July 4th. And then he started a stretch that night of homering in 4 straight games. He had 5 big flies in that 4-game stretch. And we were going through the record books again, trying to figure out when's the last time a Boulder went deep 4 games in a row.
Yeah, I mean, this team is determined to rewrite the record books in 2025. You mentioned the pitching excellence. You had T.J. Stanton reach a milestone. I mean, and this is all in one half, Mark. So let's not get ahead of ourselves. Tomorrow starts the air quotes second half. If this happened over a season, you'd be overjoyed. But the fact that this happened in one section of the season, it makes you wonder and it makes you dream about what could happen in the second half of the season as we hit this 40 game sprint.
Yeah, so we had Mason Olson throw the complete game one hitter against the Miners. We had Garrett Cooper throw the complete game two hitter up in Ottawa. He's going to start on Saturday. We had a combined shutout. We saw Isaac Rohde right before the break throw 126 pitch complete game, not a shutout, but he's going to be on the bump tomorrow night coming out of the chute. Rohde, one of the two guys on the Boulders who pitched for the 59-0 NAIA national champion LSU Shreveport Pilots. We've got Kobe Reeves, of course, as well. But what were your impressions of Rohde, his first few games with the Boulders?
You know, he reminded me instantly from the first moment I spoke to him on the concourse. He reminded me instantly of Justin Brantley. You know, just that gamer, that bulldog type mentality, that guy that's gonna go out there and be consistent and eat up innings, but also make other people around him better. He had an instant impact in the first half. He certainly will again. I admire TJ Stanton for putting him up as the starter for tomorrow against New Jersey. That's a very good team over there. But what also impresses me about Isaac is he's so mature beyond his years. You know, I was sitting on the concourse with him, and I asked him what his first impressions of the ballpark was, and he goes, "This is why you dream about playing at the next level." And he, said to me right then and there, he goes, "This is a perfect place for me to continue my career." And the reason I say that is because we're in 2025. The organization started in 2011. We went from being a local name to a county name to a state name to a national name. I mean, the Boulders are now spoken about in the MLB circles. The Boulders have grown. I mean, guys want to play here because they know that everything in a Boulders uniform gets elevated because you're wearing that name across your chest. So really, really cool to speak with Isaac Rohde, and of course, he also could remind you a little bit of Bo Butkovich, the way he just takes the ball and is like, all right, guys, follow me. I got this. Mature beyond his years, and certainly a bright future ahead of that young man.
In the bullpen, of course, Tyler Vale, who got the save in the All-Star game. He is tied for second among active Frontier League relievers with 9 saves. Harold Cortillo had 14 in what felt like the first 2 weeks of the season. He's pitching in Mexico. We don't have to worry about him. But Vale has been a mainstay on the back end. And then to get to him, the Bridges have been so consistent. I call them our everyday Eddies, and it's very rare that a team has two of them. But Nolan Lemire, second in the league in games pitched. He's been in 30, and Scotty Harper's right behind him. I joke all the time that they're like Affirmed and Alydar in those Triple Crown races back in 1978 because they are neck and neck in the competition for who gets the most appearances. So Lemire's at 30. Harper starts the second half, one back at 29.
Yeah, it's so big to have a closer, that you can rely on, but you have to be able to get to him. And Nolan and Scott, just knowing that they're there, I think gives TJ Stanton and his coaching staff, Mark Reardon's the pitching coach, all the comfort in the world. I mean, and they're consistent. They're always around the zone. And being a bullpen pitcher is not that easy. You never know when that call and your number is going to come up. So you really got to get your work done as if you're going to pitch. But in our situation this year, you might have a complete game. You might come in and there might be runners on base. So you really have to prepare very differently than a starter would because the starter knows he's going to go every fifth day. Bullpen pitcher's not really sure.
Well, we're talking Boulders baseball with Johnny Thompson, Johnny Boulder, and as we get ready to kick off the second half tomorrow night, Johnny, we talked about all these milestones. We didn't even get to TJ Stanton, who got his 400th career regular season win a couple of weeks ago. He's on the way to 500 now, but he was the first in Boulders history to reach that milestone in a New York uniform. Obviously, when Jamie Keefe came along, he was already past 400. We saw him get to 500, 600, and now he's well beyond 700 and 800 down there in High Point with the Rockers. But what did it mean to you when TJ got to number 400?
Oh my gosh, just to see any manager accomplish something, you gotta. I remember when Jamie Keith had 700 wins, and then the same weekend, Hal Lanier got his 900th win. It's just so cool to see managers get to accomplish, what they want to. And of course, I've known TJ a long time, going back to his playing days, and of course. Uh, I of course knew him with Three Rivers, and of course before that with the roving road team, the Grays. But it's not very often that a manager stays around as long as TJ has and been able to be consistent as he has enough to be able to get to that milestone. We're seeing now in the MLB fewer and fewer pitchers are getting to 300 wins. Fewer and fewer managers are getting to 200 wins because it's become such a business of changing analytics. And TJ has been on top of all that. And it's reflected not only in the wins, but and also the way he prepares his team on a day in and day out basis for games.
All right, couple of minutes we have left. We're starting the final 40 regular season game sprint, hopefully to the playoffs and beyond. What are you looking forward to in the so-called second half of this season?
I want to see this team, continue to take series. I don't really care about the other teams at this point. The Boulders have their own pen; they can write their own script. I want to see, what's possible out of Alfredo Marte. He's a huge asset, of course, with his big league experience. I want to see it sounds crazy. I want to see the pitching continue to be consistent. I think, barring any sort of injury catastrophe like what we had with Zane, I think this team has so much potential. But I think they just have to stay hungry. It's gonna be a lot of challenges coming up. You have New Jersey coming up, and they're a hungry team under the direction of Albert Gonzalez. And then you have Sussex County under the direction of Chris Widger. Hey, if you would have told me back in the winter those were going to be your first 6 games, that's a pretty good litmus test. Now, you also have to watch Tri City. You have to see what they're going to do. Now, interestingly, the Boulders don't have Quebec on their schedule, so they don't have that long trip that they have to worry about. But my big thing, Mark, is going to be wonder and potential. Where will they go? We can only wonder because the team has so much potential, and they have Mitchell Singer back, which is great.
Well, that's the funny thing. We joked about it when Mitch came back for his fourth year with the team. He started the season with the Ducks. He was back a couple of weeks ago, and we were joking because McCoy had his number 31 that Mitch wore the first 4 years he was with the team, or the first 3 years he was with the team. And we joked that they're going to have a wrestling match to take the jersey. But now McCoy is off with the Tampa Bay Rays organization. So guess what? Sanger gets his 31 back.
Yes, and isn't that funny how it works? Mitchell Sanger will get to put on the number 31 shirt, and he's going to be an instant impact player. He's been here for so long. He knows how the pitches play in the ballpark. The short porch is great for hitters, but it wreaks havoc on the pitchers. And
Hmm.
he certainly knows how at home you have to grip the baseball a little bit differently. Mitchell Singer is a definite technically sound pitcher, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do now in this part of the season.
And we saw him late in the season last year become the first Boulder ever to throw back-to-back complete game shutouts. So
Yeah,
if he's got anything left in the tank like that a year ago, it's going to be a really cool second half of the season, John.
yes, it really will be, and the sky's the limit for this team. I know everybody in the Frontier League is saying that right now, but I really feel like the Boulders, we have our best days and most exciting days in front of us, and this team has earned the opportunity to be where they are right now, and that's few teams could say that.
All right. Well, the guys are back from the break tomorrow night, 7 o'clock start against the Jackals. If you can't join us in person at Clover Stadium, of course, you can listen to every home game on Mixler. That's MIXLR.com. Search for NY Boulders. You'll find us very easily. And of course, you can watch every game home and away on Frontier League TV, powered by Home Team Network. You can find that at FrontierLeagueTV.com. Johnny, Always a pleasure to talk Boulders baseball with you, my friend. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Mark, always an honor. Let's go Boulders and hope to see people out at the ballpark.